Remember when Da Vinci Days hosted an annual sidewalk chalk art event? People of all ages created colorful designs that lined Madison Street from Central Park towards the OSU campus. Get some chalk together again, because Da Vinci Days wants you to join us during this time of isolation in a new community chalk art project. Let's cover the streets and sidewalks of Corvallis with colorful artwork and share it online for others to see and seek out. Each of us has a story to tell. With every expressive image shared, we bring vibrancy to the spaces around us, connecting their histories with our present and building a stronger relationship between people and place. What will your image reveal? We can't wait to see it.
Sin tus caderas no puedo cantar, sin tus caderas no puedo gozar, sin tus caderas y movimiento mi ritmo y música va a parar, sin tu cadera mi melodía no vale nada, sin tus caderas mi ritmo no se llama el son. Sin tus caderas no hay fiesta, no hay ron. Sin tu cadera, sin movimiento, mi ritmo y música va a parar. Sin tu cadera, mi melodía no vale nada. Ay, 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 a la sierra.
Remember when Da Vinci Days hosted an annual sidewalk chalk art event? People of all ages created colorful designs that lined Madison Street from Central Park towards the OSU campus. Get some chalk together again, because Da Vinci Days wants you to join us during this time of isolation in a new community chalk art project. Let's cover the streets and sidewalks of Corvallis with colorful artwork and share it online for others to see and seek out. Each of us has a story to tell. With every expressive image shared, we bring vibrancy to the spaces around us, connecting their histories with our present and building a stronger relationship between people and place. What will your image reveal? We can't wait to see it.
Puedo cantar. Sin tus caderas no puedo gozar. Sin tus caderas y movimiento mi ritmo y música va a parar. Sin tu cadera mi melodía no vale nada. Sin tus caderas mi ritmo no se llama el son. Sin tus caderas no hay fiesta, no hay ron. Sin tus caderas, sin movimiento, mi ritmo y música va a parar. Sin tu cadera, mi melodía no vale nada. Ay, 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 pa' la sierra. Muévete, mami, ahora
Are we live, Ben? I'm still hearing the music. Good evening, and welcome to the virtual Da Vinci Days theme series on another hot summer day in the Willamette Valley. My name is Nick Hauptman. I'm a member of the Da Vinci Days Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to welcome you here tonight. Da Vinci Days, as you may know, has been celebrating the creative energy of the Corvallis community for more than 30 years. In this year of the pandemic, we've moved our festivities from what has typically been a joyous festival in person at the Benton County Fairgrounds to online and into neighborhoods. Last month, families joined us for the Kids Kinetic Challenge, decorating their bikes, doing figure eights in their driveways and on the streets in front of their homes, and other activities at homes. This month, we're inviting families to join us in the Sidewalk Chalk Art Challenge and to share their activities with pictures and videos. And we're also planning a series of online concerts starting in a couple of weeks. So if you're looking for things to do and ways to connect with your friends and the Corvallis community, visit Da Vinci Days, DAVINCI days.org, or the Da Vinci Days Facebook page and see what's coming up. A few thank yous are in order before we get to our presentation tonight. We want to say thanks to the city of Corvallis, to Benton County, to HP, and to Corvus in particular for helping keep Da Vinci Days free and accessible to the public. We couldn't be doing this without your support and your help. Thank you very much. And I'd also like to say a thanks to our producer behind the scenes, Ben Potter, and to our executive director, Carol Hobrock, who's monitoring the questions and comments on the Facebook chat channel. So if you have any thoughts to offer, and just want to say hi, Carol's out there monitoring the traffic, and please let her know you're out there. Now, the STEAM series is all about creativity in science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Our theme this year is Ignite. We started talking about the nature of fire. And then last week we shifted to storytelling through art and augmented reality as distributed, shown by a local company, Varleo.com, and John Marr, its owner. Tonight we're taking another look at the intersection of music and mathematics with Raymund Ocampo, the Director of Choral Studies at Linn-Benton Community College in Albany. He received his Master of Music in Choral Conducting at the University of South Florida and has a Bachelor of Music in Music Education from Concordia College in Minnesota. He has a wide range of experience from the classics such as Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and Stravinsky's Symphony of Psalms to an evening with Rodgers and Hammerstein, to elementary school and church choirs, and even the singing sergeants of the U.S. Air Force. I'm really excited to be listening tonight because I've been singing in a choir for almost 20 years now, the church choir. And looking over Raymond's notes before this evening, I found myself learning a lot, and I'm really excited to learn more as he talks and shows us a lot about the relationship between musical notes, tuning, and how mathematics informs it all. So please, Raymond, with that, take it away.
All right. Great. I want to say thank you to Nick, to Carol, and to Ben for inviting me and bringing me on to speak about this this topic, which I find interesting. I hope you do too. This is mathematics and music in particular, taking a look at intonation, how everything lines up. What do you mean it's not in tune? So what we want to do, what I want to do to start off is give you an overview of how today is going to work, or tonight is going to work, the next hour. So here we go. So if you take a look, you'll see we'll do a small introduction. Thank you, Nick, for giving that information, a little bit of my bio. Thank you so much. I'll share a little more as well. Then we're going to do some basics, some musical terminology. On Facebook Live, you will see a link to the a bunch of terms. I encourage you to take a look at those terms throughout the presentation. If you are unfamiliar with music in general, take a look at those terms and sort of anchor yourself. But we'll take a brief look at those and sort of talk through a few things that are important that give you a foundation for what we're going to talk about. Then we're going to take a look at a background on the temperaments, the history of how to build these different tuning systems. And then we're going to take a look at how is it used, what does it sound like, how do you use this in practice in a musical setting, and then we'll do a little bit of interaction as well, and then we'll close out with some question and answer. So let's move on. So introduction, lovely little flower right there. So I am currently the Department Chair of Performing Arts at Linn-Benton Community College. I was the assistant conductor for the Master Chorale of Tampa Bay before that. And then before being in Tampa, in Florida, I was the founder and artistic director of a small professional ensemble called Ascend. And while I was doing that, I was the director of music at Mount Washington Presbyterian Church in Cincinnati, and I also taught 2 years in the public schools. As Nick said, I have my master's in choral conducting and my Bachelor of Music Education, Bachelor of Music in Music Education from Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. As a conductor, I've conducted the Grammy-nominated groups Seraphic Fire and the Allura Festival Singers for workshops, and I've also conducted the Minnesota Chorale as a part of a rehearsal series, the Toronto Mendelssohn Singers, and of course the Master Chorale Tampa Bay, those symphonic choirs. My research during my grad years was on early music, a little bit of early music study, and a good part of my research was on intonation in ensemble singing, in the ensemble setting, wanting to take a look at how singers tune to one another. How do they tune? What do they tune to? How do they listen? How do they hear? So this is a topic that interests me greatly, is how one hears. And so away we go. Let's do some musical terminology for you. Hopefully via Facebook, the comments, you have got onto the some of these terms. So let's take a look at some of this terminology here. We have sense to start us off. Scent or a pitch. So I'm sorry. On the presentation itself, we will have a different order than what it is on the term sheet. On the term sheet is everything in alphabetical order. On the presentation itself is just a sort of scaffolded way to teach you and to sort of get you to a point where we can talk about some of this stuff. So pitch. Let's talk about pitch first. Pitch is sort of a note that accords to the frequency of its vibration. So what that means is pitch is sort of exacting. All right. So there is pitch is almost absolute if you think of it that way. Intonation is different. The next thing on the presentation, intonation is a little different. It's how that pitch changes according to a pitch that it's related to. So, for example, and we'll talk about this. If you're singing an E and there's a C below you, that E could change if you end up becoming the E and you're staying on that note, and then there's an A below you. You have to make a pitch move. Or do you? The topic of this presentation, I guess. The answer is yes. So that's intonation. Scale. Scale is a sequence of notes played in ascending or descending order by step, half step. It gives you it's the way we get major, do re mi fa sol la ti do, do ti la sol fa mi re do. All right, and so that's the major scale. Just the way we order pitches in order to make something major, minor. Those are words that aren't necessarily in your term sheet, but yeah. The other thing we'll talk about is solfege. Well, which is what I just sang. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. All of that is solfege that was sort of created by Guido di Arezzo and then used by Zoltan Kodály on these hand signs, these wonderful do, re, mi hand signs. And we'll get to sing a little bit of that. If you don't know your solfege, there's a little known musical out there called The Sound of Music. They sing in solfege for the entire thing. I think it's called, I think that song is called Edelweiss. That's a joke. I hope you laughed. If you didn't, I can't hear it. Anyway, so that's solfege. As we move on, there's only 7 notes in the musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And then it repeats A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you can start from any letter. C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and start from there. So it just repeats after G, goes back to A, and so on and so forth. Then you get these intervals. So let's say you were starting at A, B, C, all right? A would be 1, B, C would be the third. That would be the third, all right? So let's say we're gonna find from A, we're gonna try to find E. A, B, C, D, E, that's the 5th. All right, we're not going to worry about perfect major minor today, we're not going to talk about that today. But we're just gonna get the quantity, not the quality of the interval. So if you're starting from A, F would be 6. Yes, I heard you. You did it well. Good job. You said 6. And then if you repeat yourself, A to A would be an octave. So maybe you can hear this, maybe you can't. But I'm going to share with you a beautiful piano for you. This is my Steinway. It's great. So here's C. And there's C again. Between C and C is an octave. All right. So that's an octave. And then between this C and this C would also be an, starts with A, ends in cative. Octave. Good job, everybody. Nice work. So octave between these two C's. And then because you see C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, all the way up to C. All right. So C4 to C5. And let me mark those. C4 to C5 are an octave. And then D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C. All right. An octave there. Same thing. All right. So let's get back to the meat and potatoes of this. So now we have intervals. If you click on the term sheet there, next to circle of thirds, there's a little link there to openmusictheory.com. Let me show you that. I'm going to show you these important terms, and let me link to this. And the circle of thirds, not to be confused with the circle of fifths, gives you a way to find out whether something is the root of the chord, the third or the fifth of the chord. All right? So take a look. Haven't done any note reading here, but these are A's, A, E, and C. We have A, E, and C. That forms a triad. There's the root, third, and fifth. And the root is always sort of the last note that's part of the triangle, and we'll see another example of this. And if you take a look over here, B, F, D, C, you see that? That's really not a triad. It doesn't make 3 notes. But look at this. these three consecutive notes do, and this would be the root. It's the one that's sort of furthest to the right there, right? B, D, F, A, C, E. All right. Another example is this. Yes, we just saw that. And then we want to take a look at qualities. So there we go for intervals and circle of thirds, and then sense versus frequency. We're gonna have a small chat on this in the middle of the presentation, but I want to let you know that the difference between sense and frequencies, that they are different terminologies, they're different things altogether. There is a way to sort of get how many cents is equivalent to this frequency, yes, but sense is a logarithm, and frequencies are sort of absolute pitches. All right, so I'll show you the logarithm when we get to that moment, but I want to let you know that those two are different. So you can't say, when we'll talk about this, we can't say it's 21 cents higher and go, oh, it's 21 hertz higher. That's not true. All right, that's a pretty big difference. So 21 cents higher is different than 21 hertz, which is how you measure frequency. All right, now we're going to go into the beginning here. At this point of the presentation, you are going to stop seeing this beautiful visage and my COVID hair, or I look like a beach boy or a beetle, or not good either way. So we will take a look at the presentation in full. You'll see a different background altogether, and then I'll see you back again during the Q&A. All right, so here we go. And yeah, what do you mean it's not in tune? Let's take a look at the background of this all. So this is a brief survey on how pitches are formed and what exactly it is we are hearing. If you need, just get out that term sheet that we looked at before. Use it, put it on your screen. If you want to print it off, you can. It'll be helpful for you if music is not necessarily second nature to you. All right, here we go. So we're going to take a look at 3 different tuning systems. All right, so take a look. Pythagorean tuning. All right. Just intonation, equal temperament, and a comparison of the 3. That's how we're going to form the background of this. So let's take a look first at Pythagorean tuning. So a little bit of history for you. Pythagorean tuning was used in the early Renaissance. That's about the 1500s and prior. Useful for music with a lot of open fifths. A lot of open fifths in medieval music and early Renaissance music. What we mean by that, remember musical alphabet, right? A, B, C, D, E. Between A and E, that's a 5. Let's start from D. D, E, F, G, A. Between D and A, that's a 5, all right? So perfect fifths. Let's take a look at a piece of music. And you can just see, without having like full musical knowledge, you can see how open some of these scores are. Take a look. This is the Kyrie by Ocampo from his Missa l'Homme Armé. A wonderful, wonderful piece of music and incredibly difficult to sing. So take a look here. You have G's, double G's here. This is a G in the tenor. That's a G in the bass, and then a D in the alto. The alto is the second staff down. All right. So we have a D there. That's a 5. G, A, B, C, D. All right. And then we have in the next measure, so you see the vertical line, the next measure and the next note over, we have an F in the bass, F, and then a C in the tenor, F, F, G, A, B, C, another 5. And then we finally get a 3 here, a 3 in the soprano there. All right, that's the third. And then we go on. Next measure, we have a 3 again to start off the measure in the tenor, G, B, doubled 5. So we have a G in the bass, G, and then a 5 in the soprano and alto. So now that's doubled. That would usually never happen in later Renaissance music. So looks pretty open. What does it sound like? It sounds like this. Here at that very last chord, it was all open. There's no third. Zon, do, all right? No third at all, and which is quite amazing. And this is a sort of standard practice in the early Renaissance. So how do you build this Pythagorean tuning? How do you build a tuning out of fifths? Well, luckily, I have a flower that says building this system for us to learn how to do that. So here we go. Building the Pythagorean tune scale. Let's take a look. Remember what scale means, right? How we order pitches. So take a look at that scale. Let's say you have a line, and we'll call that line T, and it's vibrating a note. All right? So you take a line, it's vibrating T. All right? Could be any note. Let's give you another string. And you split that string, that first string, in half. So now you have 2T. You see how there's two little sides of that? 2T. All right, so 2T and then T. You have two different strings happening, 2T and T. The ratio between 2T and T is 2 to 1. All right? Does that sort of make sense? 2 to 1 is the ratio between 2T and T, or 1T to 1. Let's add another little stopper to that line. Let's call it 3T because we're super creative. All right, so 3T. You now have 1T, 2T, and 3T. All right, now get your thinking helmets on. Between 2T and 1T, the ratio is 2 to 1. Between 3T and 2T, the ratio would be, what do you think? Everyone call it out. Ready, go. Excellent. You're right. It's 3-2. All right. So 3-2 between 3T and 2T. Now, between 2T and T, because 2T is double that of T, right? Sort of. That interval is an octave. All right? Between 3T and 2T, it would also be an octave, right? Not really, because we've already established that the octave is this ratio, 2 to 1. All right, so 3T to 2T would not be an octave. 3T to 2T, that 3-2 ratio, would be the fifth. Now let's put it all within one set, all within an octave, one set of notes between C and C, sort of. So let's say T is C. Then we'll have the fifth, 3-2, which is an octave, which is the fifth, and then 2T. So we'll see it this way. Watch this. So T is C, that 3-2 T, 3-2. That's the fifth above C, which is G, C, D, E, F, G, 5. And then 2T, which we've established is the octave above T, C. But look at this. And I hope you saw this. C to G is a 5. Yeah, but G to C is not a 5. That's a 4. G, A, B, C, 4. Right? How do we account for that? Well, let's do a little bit of math. So we have 3-2 to 2T in order to get that perfect fourth. All right, 3-2 times 2-1 would equal what? 4-3. And that would be the fourth above C. So now we have T, which is C, the ratio 4-3, which is now F, C, D, E, F, 4. A fifth above C, which is the 3-2 ratio, which is G, and then 2T, which is C. And then look at this. Oh no, we have another interval. F to G is a whole step. That's neither a perfect fourth, nor is it a perfect fifth. Those letters are right next to one another. So what do? We multiply. All right, so 4 over 3 times 3 over 2 would equal 9/8. And we multiply intervals, intervals, intervals over and over and over until we get this. Here's our 9/8. Between C and D is our 9/8 interval, right? C and D is a whole step. Between D and E is a whole step. That's 9/8. And then between E and F, do more multiplication. 256 over 253. And then 9/8, 9/8, 9/8, 256 over 243. All right. So if you're one of those who has, pardon me, who has a musicological background in theory, look at this 9/8, whole step, half, whole, half. How we build the major scale. Amazing. So here's those T frequencies that we were talking about. And these frequencies are related down to C. So between D and C is 9/8, 81/64, which is the third, 4/3, the fourth, the fifth, which is the 3/2, A, B, and then C. All right. Amazing. And then if you take a look at that bottom line, you'll see the sense. And we'll talk more about sense in a little bit. That logarithm, how we can get that to work. So between C and D is 204 cents. Between C and E is 408 cents. Between C and F is 498 cents. And then so on and so forth until you get to 1200. So 1200 is always the octave between C and C. All right, 1200. So that's Pythagorean tuning in a nutshell. So take a look at that chart. You'll see this quite a bit today. Thank you, Pythagoras. Here's just intonation. Let's move on. This scale is just Pythagorean tuning, but the thirds and sixths are adjusted to sound a little more consonant, to actually line up a little more with what thirds sound like in the overtone series. And we'll talk about the overtone series in just a little bit here. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because in Pythagorean's tuning system, everything was tuned against fives, just sort of built fives over to get all the notes. And in doing so, you've made the thirds and the sixth and the seven out of tune. And so just intonation is an adjustment of that. It is a more natural way to listen to things. This is also called pure intonation or the right notes. So let's take a look. That's a small joke too. So let's take a look at a piece of music. Palestrina's Alma Redemptoris Mater. Now look at this. Look at that soprano line. Alma, and then Redemptoris. Now we get a third. There's thirds everywhere. Between the tenor and the bass, it's an F, so they're solid, same note. And then a third in the alto, the A, F, F, G, A, the third, and then the C in the soprano. And then take a look. You're almost never going to miss a note without a chord without a third in it. The next measure 3. So look at those vertical lines. Look at the third vertical line on the word to there. You also have a third that is back in F. The third is A, F, A, and C. F being the root, A the third, C the fifth. I know we're going really fast. I'm so sorry about that, but that's the only way to get through it. And then we have at the tail end of measure 4 there. We have C, E, and G at the sort of last beat there. Always a third. So those thirds are crucial to our understanding of things. And why are those thirds crucial? Let's take a listen. Those thirds are crucial because I'm going to find my piano here. And, oops, sorry about that. We're going to find this piano in just a second here. Here we go. So look at this piano. Let me share that again with you. Sorry for the small interruption in our musical learning here. So take a look at this piano. Here's our 3 notes. We have C, E, and G. And let me play those for you. Yeah, and if I don't play that E, it just sounds like this. Pretty open. And then watch, if I make that E just a little lower, I'll make it a sad little piece of music. All right. The original key for Mary had a little lamb. All right. The word is had. It's a really sad way to keep going on the presentation, but there we go. So so here is, so that's why those thirds are crucially important. So let's take a look at some more. So just intonation, thirds are everywhere. Let's take a listen to a little bit of this. You could keep going, but we're not. So you hear how it's less open. There are more thirds. Thirds finish up sentences, which we call cadences there. And it's a wonderful thing to hear. So how do we build the just intonation system? Well, let's take a look. So it's almost like we did for Pythagorean tuning, except look at this E. Let's bring up the Pythagorean tune stuff. Instead of making this 8164, they simplified it 8064, which gets us to, instead of making E 8164, 81 over 64 in Pythagorean tuning, in just intonation they make that, they simplify that to 54 or 80 over 64. All right. They do the same thing for A. Instead of, they simplify 27 over 16 and they make that 5 over 3. All right. So, or 25 over 15 essentially is what it would be. So they simplify all of those frequencies in relation to C. And now we get these differences in sense. I'm going to tell you this right now. I apologize again. In this table 2, you'll see this one more time. In table 2, just intonation table, in sense it says 204. That number should be 182. All right, I apologize for that. So it should be 182. So that D natural is lower between just intonation and Pythagorean tuning. The E natural lower. The fifth and the fourth and the fifth the same. A natural lower. B natural lower. And then the C is the same. This is just a very, very, very high way to sing. So let's take a look. And you can even see that the intervals are different too. 9, 8, 10, 9, 16, 15. Simplified these intervals, right? Because these notes are changed, right? Yeah. So that's the just intonation scale. Let's take a look at something that's a little simpler, sort of. The equal temperament scale. So equal temperament, it's that every half step or semitone is separated 100 cents from one another. A cent is a measure of distance between pitches. That means that notes such as C sharp and D flat are the same. This is a different concept than the other tuning systems in that there is a set pitch for each of these notes instead of ratios. So no ratios at all. All right, between C and C sharp, it's 100 cents. Between C and D is 200 cents. Why is it 200 cents? Let me show you. It's 200 cents because there is, again, on our beautiful Steinway here, there is a note between C and D. There's a C sharp there. So between each of these notes is 100 cents. 100 cents, 100 cents. So that would be between C and D would be 200 cents. Okay? And then look at this. Between D and E, flat or D sharp, 100 cents, 100 cents, 200 cents. Look, there's no note in between. That's just 100 cents. And then so on and so forth. All right. So that's sort of the simple way to sort of speak through that. So, so equal temperament. Each note is about 100 cents from one another. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a listen to what the difference between what it sounds like between equal temperament and just intonation or pure intonation. I don't remember what term he uses here.
So here we are in the music department, and we're going to try out this very interesting piano that can do some cool stuff for us. I'll start off by playing the chord of C major, and then I'll play the chord of C sharp major. If you listen very carefully, you'll actually be able to hear a beat frequency in the background. Now we can actually fix that up and remove the beat frequency by switching over from an equal tempered scale to a pure tempered scale. Can you hear the difference? There's a problem with this though. If we so happen to scale up to...
All right. So, if you heard the difference, you didn't hear the difference, it's okay. We're gonna practice a little bit more. But there is a significant difference between hearing that equal tempered scale, which is naturally, because it's built just by these half-step semitones, out of tune with just intonation and the just intonation tuning. So, what does this look like? Again, we separated that by 100 cents each. So remember, between C and D, there's another half step. So it's 200, 400, 500, 700, 900, 1100, 1200. All right, between the notes. Let's take a look at just intonation. Remember, the D in just intonation should be 198. Sorry about that, or 182. So 200, 182, much lower. 386, lower. 498, a little lower. 702, a little higher in just intonation. 884 instead of 900. These are a huge amount of cents, and we'll take a look at a chart here to differentiate. And then in comparison to Pythagorean tuned, even more of a difference. Yeah, so how does this relate to one another? How can you see? Let's put all these temperaments and the sense in a chart together, and let's compare all of them. So let's take a look first at equal temperament versus just intonation, the sense. Everything that's highlighted is the major. So that's what we're going to talk about today, just major, like a C major scale. So just look at the highlighted ones. The difference in cents between C and D, a major second, is 17 cents. We'll talk about what that sounds like in a bit here. Between the major third, 13 cents, 196 cents. Or 1.96 cents at a perfect fourth. And then perfect fifth gets something a little interesting, plus 196. And then look at a major sixth, minus 1664. Take a look at a minor third there. You have plus 1564. It's sort of a mirror of one another between the augmented fourth and the diminished fifth. Now, take a look at this. This is so fascinating, or at least I think it is. If it's not fascinating to you, I'm sorry. All right, so augmented fourth, diminished fifth. Look at equal temperament sense. It's both 600. But look at just intonation. Augmented fourth and diminished fifth are two different notes. Now, here's what's fascinating about that. Augmented fourth and diminished fifth, on our beautiful Steinway here, it's these two notes. This is an augmented fourth, and we play it for your diminished fifth. It's the same two notes. So in equal temperament, this is 600 cents away. In just intonation, if this is an augmented fourth, that's a different pitch. than if this were a diminished fifth. This. Yes, a tritone. Augmented fourth, diminished fifth, a tritone. The devil's interval. Why they called it the devil's interval? Probably some guy got struck by lightning while singing it, and then like that's how it stuck. All right, so I'm kidding, maybe. So let's take a look at more of those intervals. Look at that, just intonation, 590, great. And then that's where it flips between minus 978, augmented fourth, to a plus 978. Let's take a look some more. We're gonna go forward a little bit. Here's the crazy part. Watch this. So everything is plus except for the perfect fourth, right? Plus 391, major second, that's C to D. C to E is plus 782. Now look at the augmented fourth again. Equal tempered sense, augmented fourth 600, diminished fifth, equal tempered 600. Take a look, Pythagorean tuning sense. Augmented fourth is 611, diminished fifth is 588. That means that a diminished fifth, even though the number is higher, is a lower quote unquote pitch than in the augmented fourth. That's a lower interval. Isn't that crazy? Or a wider interval. Isn't that kind of nuts? So, between augmented fourth and diminished fifth, pretty big significant difference there. And then that mirroring that happens before. Now, here's the part that was awesome for me when I discovered it, and maybe it's awesome for you. Let's take a look at Pythagorean tuning versus just intonation. Look at the difference on the far right as we do it. It's the same number. It's 21.51 cents. It mathematically works out that way. It's incredible. So just intonation sense, all the majors, they aren't highlighted here, I'm sorry. All the majors are plus 21.51 major. Perfect fourth is 0. No difference between the fourth and the fifth. Major 6, plus 21.51, plus 21.51. So Pythagorean tuning is 21.51 cents higher than just intonation on all the majors, and then lower on the minors. That 21.51 cents is something that we call the syntonic comma. Let's take a look at what that means for us. What is the syntonic comma difference? So let's take a look at sense versus frequency. I know I said we were going to talk about that, and here it is. Cent is a logarithmic unit of measure of an interval, and that's a dimensionless frequency ratio of f2 to f1. If you take a look here, if you are able to click that link later, you'll see a calculator. I'm not going to click it now. To sort of determine what the cent is. Now here's why it's hard to determine cents and frequencies, like do a nice little equals, because between C4 and E4, between those two notes, C4 rings at 261.63 hertz, E4 rings at 329.63 hertz. So the difference is 68 hertz. That's C4 to E4. That's middle C. So if we're taking a look at our fancy piano here, if we're taking a look at our beautiful fancy piano, between C4 and E4, all right, that's C4 and E4. We're also going to take a look at C5 and E5, and then C3 and E3, those two notes. That's an octave above and an octave below. Just remember that as we go through this next portion. So now between C5 and E5, an octave above, it's 136 hertz difference. So even more so. And then an octave below is 34 hertz difference. So the hertz is different, yeah, by 6834, by half each octave you go through. But the ratio between C and E, the number of cents, whether it be Pythagorean tuning or just intonation is always the same. Those cents aren't going to change, but the number of hertz does depending on what octave it is. All right, so that's why it's hard to say this number of cents is this number of frequencies. You have to sort of make a mental note in your head and which octave it is and do the math that way. So cents versus frequency. What's the difference? Let's take a listen. This is A440. This is what A normally sounds like. Take a listen. All right, now I'm going to have you sing that. So in the privacy of your own home, take a listen and sing that A. Just sing along with it. Do you feel where that's at? Now watch. This is A445 and a half. This is 21.5 cents higher, or 5.5 hertz higher. Listen. Sing along with it. That's the syntonic comma difference. It's a pretty significant change. If you sang it, you probably felt it in your throat, in your body. So let's take a look at what this all means. All right. So I talked very briefly earlier about the overtone series. All of this is based on the overtone series. What is an overtone? Well, take a look. We're going to connect our ratios to the overtone series. Take a look at this. T, 2T, C and C, 3T, 4T, 5T, all those T's. They're all there. That's the overtone series. All right? So we have that. So between C and G is the 5, between C and E is the 3rd, all there. All there. All right? So take a listen to what these overtones sound like. We're just going to take a minute to listen to this. This is a lovely young lady who can sing overtones, and this is what this sounds like. If you've ever played trumpet or a brass instrument or even or a string instrument, you can play with overtones. Take a listen to what a voice does with overtones. You can hear them. We're going to skippy a little bit.
I am Anna Maria, and I'm an overtone singer, and I'm going to tell you something about polyphonic singing today. Overtone singing is a voice technique where one person sings 2 notes at the same time.
Yeah, right? So all those high whistle tones, that's the overtone. So when you get chords just in tune, just intonation, you get these beautiful overtones. All right, so let's compare and contrast. Let's take a listen. So we're going to compare and contrast 2 performances of the exact same piece. One choir is singing in Pythagorean tuning, while the other is singing in just intonation. Answer 2 questions for yourself, or for me, or for whoever. Describe the sound of each group. Is one group warmer or more vibrant than the other? Does one sound feel more settled? You don't have to use musical terms. You can just use whatever you want to, however way you want to describe it. Just describe it to yourself. And 2, which group do you think is singing Pythagorean tuning and which is singing just intonation? I'll tell you about the groups later. I don't want to give you a bias. But here are 2 ensembles. I'm going to do a little bit of skippy as you listen. But the piece that you're going to hear from both choirs, the same piece, is Richte mich Gott by Felix Mendelssohn. sorry, I have to stop. We have to keep going though. So here is the next choir singing the same piece, same section. So, describe the sound of each group. Is one group warmer or more vibrant than the other? Which one do you think was singing Pythagorean tuning? Which was singing just intonation? So, answer that question. Answer question number 2. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Which was singing Pythagorean tuning? The first group or the second group? If you said that the first group was singing Pythagorean tuning, you would be right. That is the Louisville Cardinal Singers from the University of Louisville, under the direction of Kent Hatteberg. Wonderful choir, wonderful director. All collegiate age singers, and they are singing in Pythagorean tuning. If you will go back, if you hear this choir, everything sounds more vibrant. More vibrancy in that sound. And I know they're younger, and the keys are a little different. The keys have step higher than the second group. And then listen to the second group. Listen to how settled it feels. And that second group is Seraphic Fire from Miami, professional ensemble. They're singing there in New York. So that's what that sounds like on the outside. What does it feel like on the inside? So it's your turn now. All right, so take a look. So we're gonna do a little bit of just for you. In this section, you'll get to sing one note. All you got to do is sing one note. You can do it. If you're really shy, if you're afraid that someone's going to hear you, don't worry about it. You're on Facebook. So only the Russians can. So in this section, you'll just sing one note. The example will begin by providing you with your starting pitch. So you hear the one note. You will sing just that one note. Don't change it. Every time the pitches around you change, you are a different part of the chord. There are 4 changes. So you'll sing just an A. And then while you sing that A, you'll be this different scale. It will be the third, the fifth, the root, the 1, and the third. Again, at the very end. So take a listen. This is equal temperament. Just hold the note. Just hold an A as well as you can. You sounded beautiful. What were you worried about? All right, so let's take a look at Pythagorean tuning. Same thing. Now, you're going to see on the sides, you're going to see what the number differences are as related to the piano, equal temperament, and as related to those notes against one another. All right, take a look. So relation to each note, that means that you'll start the first note 7.82 cents higher. Then you'll drop that same A 5.86 cents. And you'll drop again just a little bit, 1.96 cents, and then raise it 7.82 cents. All right, want to try it again? The answer is yes. Here we go. Beautiful job. I mean, you're just experts now. All right, just intonation, the last one. All right, so those are the differences there. So you have to sink it by 13 cents and then raise it really high, up 15 cents, because between minus 13 and plus 196 is 1565, and then sink it a little bit and then sink it back down to 1369. That's how you tune that. That's how you tune in just intonation. I want to try it one more time. So let's try it with some music. We're going to very quickly do this. All right. So drop, drop, slow tears. In this section, you'll sing different pitches and try to adjust those to get them to tune properly. You'll sing the tenor part of the classic Gibbons piece, drop, drop, slow tears. And those pitches, the pitches will be given to you, the first pitch, and then it'll be in everyone's range. So if you're a treble singer, sing the notes in your octave. The music is provided for you in each example. The solfege you'll be singing is mi. So here's that A. Let me play for you. Mi, mi, sol, mi, re. If you want to try that for me, ready? Let's do it together. And go. Mi, sol, mi, re. Here's that music. There's that tenor part. See where it says tenor, T-E-N-O-R. Mi, and you can just tap time. Mi, sol, mi, re. All right, let's try it in equal temperament. All right, good job. Good work. And then all right. So that's how that feels. All right. That's what those are like. And that's what groups like Voces 8 do. These professional ensembles, they listen to those tunings and they sort of do it by what's the overtone sound like? How does it feel? How does it feel in the ensemble when you're singing? Does it feel really vibrant and ringy every tuning, Pythagorean tuning, or does it feel settled? Is it just intonation? And so a lot of it is, those scents are hard to hear, but that feeling and sensation of singing in the group and singing with other pitches that'll lock in, that's the difference there. All right, I think we're at the Q&A portion. So you were going to see my lovely visage here in just a second. And then we'll go from there. Let's get to, let's go all the way down. Whoa! Just like a big review of everything we learned very, very, very fast. And here we go. Any questions you may have?
Thank you, Raymond. That was amazing. And we do have a few questions from the audience. The first one, maybe a fairly simple one. Who came up with just intonation and why?
Just intonation. That's really that's a really great question. It's hard to tell who exactly came up with it. There's no name to it, but but a group of artists were essentially going, Pythagorean tuning is out of, that third is out of tune. We're adding all of these new thirds to this music, and that's way out of tune. What can we do about that? And so they adjusted Pythagorean tuning. And just intonation had been around for a while. It just worked better for music of the middle to late Renaissance, and even the music of the medieval times. Those perfectly tuned fifths. And once you get that third in there, that happens every once in a while, it becomes very, very, very special. Mm-hmm.
Do you actually use the tuning system theory in your choral work? In other words, what difference does this make for singers?
Yes, we do use it. At LB, we do use it to varying degrees of success. I'm going to be honest. So sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't work as well. But for the LB students, a lot of it is we put a word to what that sensation and what that sound is like. So when you finally get into that group and you hear and you sing Pythagorean tuned third, how those, because it's out of tune, what you're hearing is, remember when you were hearing the beats when the guy was playing the piano in equal tempered, you were hearing those beats? Those beats are really fast when you're singing that third real high, 7.82 cents. Those beats run really fast. So you hear this tick, 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 just like that. And that's super exciting. It adds a vibrancy and a vibrancy and a color to those chords and those notes. And then when you sync that third, it feels so relaxed. So there are times when we'll go, all right, at this cadence, at the very last, can we tune Pythagorean tune? Let's like close the sentence out really strong. Ready? And go, ba. And then if it's like a piece that tails down, a nice slow languid piece, we'll go into just intonation in the middle or towards the end, and then like feel that settling. Yeah, so we do use it. I lead more of it, so the students aren't necessarily going, oh, well, of course I'm going to raise the third minus this. I give them that. They do get all of this information. And again, varying degrees of success. Some students understand it completely. Some students, are so-so. Some students don't understand it at all. And I'm still learning how to teach it properly so that we can be as the best we can be. And we can tune these things the best we can tune.
That's a great segue into a broader educational question with respect to the intersection of math and music. And from your background as an educator, are there things that you think should be emphasized in K through 12 education in other words, preparing the students that you then teach at the college level?
Oh, I don't, that's a really broad question. If I were to be in charge of it all, which would be a disaster for the country, I would say that we need to be able to, and again, this is a bias as a music teacher, as an instructor, we need to be able to supplement the work of music and science. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. We need to be able to work with music, science, writing. There is so much that is inherent within music, as it concerns history, as it concerns text, as it concerns science, music, all of these subjects, that the inclusion of music, art, of sports, of that camaraderie, of all of that is paramount, I think, to the success of our students and the overall success of who we are as a nation. I like to say that I teach music, yes, but I actually teach humanity through music. So it's not that I teach the notes. It's not that I only teach, the history of the piece, we get in touch with the composers. It's not just that. It's about being who you are and sharing your story, your history with others. And it's a difficult thing to do. We live in a culture that is a very, very quick culture, as in you can scroll through a feed on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and just get a snippet of someone's life. We never get the full value of who they are on our social media. And the thing about sports, the thing about music, art is these students, the people who play, participate, sing, whatever, or however way they become of themselves, they share of themselves, and that I think is crucial. Students I get at LB are wonderful students, and I wouldn't trade them for anyone in the world. They are truly wonderful. When I see that, you know, and you can see it too in K through 12. Some students are unsure of themselves. They don't know exactly who they are, what they want to be, and sports, music, and art, I think, are a crucial part of our educational system.
Well, thank you for that. I'm not so sure that your being in charge of the world would be such a disaster, given the breadth and the holistic approach that you bring to that kind of a question. This is a very broad question indeed. Another question that gets us a little maybe more tightly focused on the music factor here, the perspectives that about tuning an instrument. Do you run into issues when you're tuning an instrument, say with Pythagorean or just intonation, that there are problems between higher and lower pitches in either system?
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's say a piano cannot be tuned. A physical, like acoustic piano, would be difficult to tune in just intonation, if nay impossible, unless the entire piece is in C and all you have is C major. And the reason for that is, let's say you're in C major, right? So in C major, you have C, E, G, root third, fifth, and then those same notes, let's move it up a step, D, F, and A. That F is going to be a different pitch quality when it's attached to a D natural than when it is attached to the C. And so it's incredibly difficult to do that to an acoustic instrument. It's easier as an ensemble, so string players can do it much easier. Brass players do it because they are on the harmonic series, overtone series. But fixed note instruments like the piano are very, very difficult to do. Guitar, same way.
Can you have a wrong tuning for an interval? Do people who tune pianos and other instruments need to make sure they have the correct functions?
Yeah. So just a brief aside, someone can tune an instrument wrong. It happens all the time. But typically, piano is tuned in equal temperament. All right. If you go to some organs have a different tuning system altogether. They have like mean tone, syntonic comma, 1/2. They have or a quarter syntonic comma, which means at the third, it's a quarter of 21.51 cents lower. There's a lot of different tuning systems, a lot of different ways people like to tune. So like a little bit of historical perspective, let's say you were living in the time of Bach, which is something wonderful and horrible long ago. Around St. Thomas Kirche, they would have different A's. So let's say Bach's was A416. In Leipzig or in a different city altogether, that could be A450. So even the pitches were different. And then the organs were tuned completely differently as well. When I was at Mount Washington Presbyterian in Cincinnati, we had these wonderful rehearsals in our wonderful space with a lovely piano. And then we did one rehearsal at our organist's house, and he happened to have this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful portative organ, or this beautiful instrument at his studio. And we sang with that instrument, and it was a completely different tuning system. It was mean tone, syntonic comma quarter, which threw the choir off completely, because it's a very different tuning system than equal temperament. And so yeah, if you're not used to it, it could be a challenge. I know that my choir gets a little, when we sing with piano, my chamber choir, when they sing with piano, it takes a little bit of time getting used to, because those thirds are really high as opposed to just intonation, and then things have to sort of adjust. It's a different listening sensation. But yeah.
Okay. One more question here. This question is, why are there 8 notes in an octave? Why not more? Why not less? How did we come to 8?
Oh, well, that's a wonderful question. We can end the session now. I'm joking. No, it's a great question. So it's 8 notes, sort of in Western culture. There are different cultures where, well, it's really 12 notes because we have C sharp, right? So 12 notes, 1200 cents, right? Between C and C. But between C and C, quote unquote, in some cultures, like in India, there could be 12 or 16 notes, 24 notes in between. So only in our Western culture can we distinguish between those 12 notes. Now, if you take a look, remember in Pythagorean tuning and in just intonation, the augmented 4 and the diminished 5th, which are the same note on the piano, are 2 different notes. So technically, even in our system, there's really 13 notes because that augmented 4, diminished 5th are different notes, all right, or are different intervals. And so, so even in our system, you could feasibly say that there's 13, but there's more in other cultures, and you can hear it. So you can just, if you sing and just move that pitch a little bit, all those gradations can all be notes. And that's the amazing thing about music is we have all this space to make beautiful sound, and then we have also all this space to mess it up. But that's the beauty of the technical stuff is we have an opportunity to do something that is incredibly challenging, and then you put that away, or not put that away, you put that in the back of your head, and you focus on the music itself and what the text means, what the music sounds like, what it means to you.
And the experience connects us, does it not, to people? I mean, we talk about Da Vinci's time and the Renaissance tonight, but even, in times well before that, we are musical beings.
Absolutely.
Connected through time.
I believe that that the technical stuff is the musical stuff, where you can't separate the two things. That your emotion, even though you're like, oh my God, some of my singers, I can very well guarantee, I can't believe Raymund is having us sing this chord again, would go, why is he having us do this? But in that one moment where it's real quiet or real big, or even it's just a passing little moment, when that chord locks in, that touches you emotionally. And if you don't get there, if you don't get to talk about that, if you don't get to that moment, those points, then we've done something wrong. Not as a director, not as a choir, but both. That we've lost our goal. We've lost the reason. We've lost the why. I like to say this is all the what. The entire presentation is the what of what we do and the how a little bit. But at every rehearsal, and if I know. Nick, you said you sing a lot. At every rehearsal, the question you should ask yourself is why? Why did the composer do this? Why am I here tonight? If those answers are positive and beautiful, then it's going to be a great night.
Well, thank you. And that, I think, should be our program tonight. We've taken up a good hour plus of your time. You've generously donated your thoughts and your expertise to all of us tonight. Thank you so much for doing this program with us and giving us this glimpse into musical theory and into such an important part of our lives. Don't forget, folks, check in next week with Da Vinci Day's theme series. Our 4th will be focusing on wildfire, again, with Claire Tortorelli, a PhD student in the College of Forestry at Oregon State University. Her talk is called Oregon Wildfire from the Klamath to the Blues, a story of landscapes, change, and finding balance, something that we heard a little bit about tonight, finding balance indeed. So don't forget to check those out and see you next week.
Thank you.
Remember when Da Vinci Days hosted an annual sidewalk chalk art event? People of all ages created colorful designs that lined Madison Street from Central Park towards the OSU campus. Get some chalk together again, because Da Vinci Days wants you to join us during this time of isolation in a new community chalk art project. Let's cover the streets and sidewalks of Corvallis with colorful artwork and share it online for others to see and seek out. Each of us has a story to tell. With every expressive image shared, we bring vibrancy to the spaces around us, connecting their histories with our present and building a stronger relationship between people and place. What will your image reveal? We can't wait to see it.